The FujiCast is an independent Loading Zone production.
Kev, by the magic of the way we record these shows in the past for the future, I've just been to Portugal.
Yay.
Yay. I don't remember any of it though, Kev, because I haven't been there yet.
Yeah.
As we record this. But it's very similar to the experience both of us have had of Portugal, because I went to Portugal for my stag party. And I got to be honest, Kev, I don't remember much about that particular gig. And you've been there playing rugby, which means one thing.
Yeah, we went on rugby tour there. I don't remember it either.
With new Kev, because there's Kev sort of 1.0 and Kev 2.0. Maybe there's a Kev 3.0, I don't know. But with Kev 2.0, now that you're healthy and you're doing your judo and so on and so forth, a sporty Kev, a bit like a Spice Girl Kev. If you were to go on more rugby tours now, would they be a little bit more, I don't know, going out to museums, art galleries, and a nice early night to bed before hitting the spa in the morning?
No, rugby tours are never like that, ever. And I still sometimes see the boys from London Welsh, and even if we're just together for the afternoon, it's usually nobody remembers what happens after 8 o'clock.
Is it absolute carnage, is it?
I've got a really good friend of mine I used to play rugby with, Jeff Malvesi. He's 70 now.
So that name rings a bell. Is that a famous name?
No.
Oh, right, okay.
Jeff Malvesi. He was a great rugby player. He used to play back in the day when he was a youngster. He used to play for Penarth, and he played against the Barbarians, and he played in the Welsh
Barbarians, yeah.
First Division, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, he ended up playing at London Welsh with me and the veterans team. You know, obviously quite a bit older than me, but still a really good player then. Anyway, he's just been selected for Wales veterans over 70s football team, and he's off to playing the World Cup in Japan.
So the wrong size ball though, the wrong sort of shaped ball, yeah?
Right, yeah, but he's one of those sporty types. You know, if you looked at him, even now, you wouldn't think, well, he doesn't look 70, and he certainly doesn't behave like he's 70, and he still plays rugby. You know, he still plays, gets some rugby.
Is he a striker?
I don't know.
Well, I'm just thinking that Arsenal are in need of a striker right now.
The FujiCast.
It could be the answer to our prayers, this, Kev.
Could be.
What's his name again?
Jeff Malvesi.
Malvesi. I can see that on the back of football shirts. I can see Albie wearing a Malvesi football jersey.
I don't think my wife would allow that, I've got to say. She knows Jeff. But I think Man United would need him more than Arsenal. Anyway.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. Well, look, welcome to the FujiCast. Here we are again. You and your questions sent by email to click@fujicast.co.uk or by Facebook. How, Kev? I know we say this every single week, but we always pick up new listeners, one hopes. How would you join in with the Facebook page, Kev?
Go to facebook.com or whatever it is and ignore everything on there. Just search for FujiCast podcast group and join. And we've had quite a few members this week, actually. And there is a post at the top that says questions for the show, and just pop them in there.
And Bob's your uncle. Bob's your uncle. And Malvesi, I've already forgotten his name, Malvesi, is the new top striker. Right, we should say thank you to our sponsor too, PickTime. Pick-time.com is the web address. Myself and Kev use it to show our pictures to clients that we've shot weddings for, or corporate work, or you can use it for artwork, any kind of art photography, any kind of photography. PickTime is a fantastic gallery to use. I like it because I think it looks, and I mean this, Kev, genuinely, it can look a little bit like your own website, can't it? If you've got a bit of wherewithal and can design it into your website.
Yeah, of course, and actually a lot of people do use it as their own website because you can do blogging on it and various things like that now. So I know quite a lot of people who, you know, to sidestep the effort of doing their own blogs on Squarespace or WordPress or whatever they're in, they just use the blogging element of PickTime, and it just takes the images that you've already uploaded, makes them look beautiful. You know, I often think that the people who they use at PickTime for designing the interfaces are kind of they always seem to be one step ahead of the game in the global aesthetics of the web.
The global aesthetics of the web.
They make it look beautiful.
If you were starting afresh, Kev, and you weren't necessarily thinking, because I know Squarespace offers so much opportunity in terms of the way you run your business around it. I get that. That's why I choose Squarespace as well. Squarespace. But if you were starting afresh, Kev, would you perhaps consider PickTime as your website?
If I didn't have any other business elements and I just wanted to, show pictures and sell pictures, then yeah, I probably would consider it. It's not right for me at the moment because obviously I need to sell presets and courses and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't see why not at all. I do think though, given the price of it, then you absolutely should use it as a way to make passive income, i.e. sell prints, books, stuff like that. But yeah, why not? If you're going to sell stuff, go for it.
You don't have to so much stuff, Kev, for it to pay for itself.
Well, no, absolutely. I mean, one order could do it. Absolutely.
I know, that's it. I look at that when the orders I don't get lots and lots of picture orders, but when they come in, I think, oh, there we go. That's PickTime pay for another year, and in the world, a bit more.
In the world where everything is going up in price, you and I were just talking about a certain online video platform that's just whacked their prices up. All of our council tax prices have gone up. Everything's going up. It's nice to have a system, or it's nice to have something that actually could, with the right bit of effort, pay for itself over the duration.
Kev, a system we can depend on.
System we can depend on. Like PickTime.
No, that would be far too easy. Right, well, go to pick-time.com, enter FujiCast when it comes to checking out, and you will get 1 month free. Can't say fairer than that.
No.
Where do we start, Kev? Facebook or emails?
We'll go Facebook. Why not? Just because I've got one that's on here and I haven't read it yet, but it's from Stu Haythorne, and he says egg collecting and photography. No.
What?
Egg collecting and photography. So he has posted this on the 1st of April. So I will read it. I don't know whether this is a 1st of April thing or not.
It could be a April Fool thing. Oh,
so here we go. Gents, sorry the email is arriving to you slightly later than planned, but I've been waiting to see if there will be any tariffs placed on emails.
Do you know, the weird thing is here, Kev, okay, I'm going to level with you here. We are sitting here in the morning before Liberation Day is properly announced. However, this show is going out as a flight back from Portugal well after Liberation Day, and even an hour is a long time in politics at the moment. So who knows what's happened, Kev?
What's Liberation Day? I've missed something.
Well, Liberation Day is going back in time now to a week and a bit ago, was where his orangeness,
don't be rude,
was going to place or may have placed hundreds of percentages of tariffs on everybody around the world.
Oh, I see.
Even you. There's one on you, Kev. There's a 300% tariff on Kevin Mullins.
There's already tariffs on me. There's probably a price on my head given my X100 GF video. But
no, Kev.
I tend not to read the news these days, so I've missed that. I do know that there's tariffs. There's some kind of blurb about.
Would you like me to explain to you how tariffs work?
No.
Because nobody else seems to understand.
I'm finding my little walled network in Malmesbury where there's a pub.
Do you know what? I think there's probably a nice, safe place in Malmesbury with a coffee shop awaiting everybody, isn't there? Hey.
Stu goes on to say, I'm pretty sure that this question has not been asked before on the show, but please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. I was out grabbing some street shots last week using the X100 VI, or maybe it was the X100-L6.
What?
Whilst accompanied by my little buddy, Beamer the Labradoodle. Oh. It was sometime into the walk when the question of egg collecting whilst carrying a camera came to mind whilst trying to deal with the issue. I carry the camera on a wrist strap and for the first time had an issue of collecting an egg whilst it nearly came into contact with the camera. The egg? A dog egg? And Beamer does lay them pretty regularly, he says. So he's obviously not on about egg, he's on about dog eggs. Eggs that come out at the end of dogs. Yeah. With dog lead and camera in one hand and plastic bag in the other, the collection of the egg was simple, but securing it and tying a knot became quite a complex operation. As you, and no doubt a number of listeners, have dogs, can you offer any advice on how to ensure that collections are completed in a smoother and safer fashion?
Well, I can answer this question. Kev can't, because Kev doesn't walk his dogs. He just takes them down to the stables and lets them run riot.
That's absolutely it. And when we do go out for a walk, I make the kids pick it up.
You don't?
I do.
Do they accept that?
I don't do the picking up. I can't. It literally makes me violently sick.
That sounds like a good excuse to me, Kev. I don't believe that for one moment.
No, it's absolutely true.
Well, you muck out the horses, surely.
Do you know, once when a long time ago, when I was the kind of brief time when I was single between wives, I had a cat, and my cat was called Cat. Anyway, as my cat got older and older and older, it had thyroid problems, and as cats generally do, and it walked into the living room in the house I was renting at the time, and it was ill. Just call it ill. On my feet. Oh. And I looked down, and then I was violently ill on the cat.
Oh, no.
Instantly.
Kev, I don't think you should ever go into, not that you're going to, into the veterinary business. I don't think that's for you.
The cat never did it again.
No, I'm sure it didn't. Did it? Oh, no. You're not telling me that the cat took a long walk.
Oh no, I love that cat. I had that cat for about 15 years.
Oh, that's nice.
And then it disappeared. Went and it actually chose to. It waited till I was on a skiing holiday before it departed this mortal coil.
Well, I can't. Just very quickly with a question, because I can't believe we've started a question about dog eggs. With a question about dog eggs, it's all really about what they eat. I know this because dog owners talk incessantly about dog eggs. And does your dog egg look as good as my dog egg? So if you feed them something like, raw food diets are very good for good, strong dog eggs that aren't too tricky to gather up in a bag and tie a knot with one hand while you're photographing with the other. That's all I need to say about that, Kev.
Well, I would also, by the way, Stu's Instagram is, as we always say, that if you give us your Instagram, we will read it out. It's at stuarthaythorn.photo, StuartHaythorn.photo. I would just start learning to use your left hand.
Shall we move on?
Or your right hand if you're already left-handed.
Shall we move on?
Yeah, you'll go.
This is from Dominique Martel. Hi, Neil.
Lovely name.
It's a lovely name, isn't it? Dominique Martel. Hi, Neil. I listened to your... Oh, this is very unusual, Kev. I listened to your podcast, The Photo Walk and the FujiCast. I have a quick question for you. On a recent podcast, you mentioned that you have a mentor. Do you think a mentor should be paid? I thought it was the case as when you ask for a mentor, he or she spends time for the mentee. But I heard somebody else mention the other day that mentoring should be free. What's your thoughts? I'm asking because I might want to contact someone for that matter and would like your advice. Actually, you've directed it at me, and I do have some thoughts about this. But I know, Kev, you will definitely have thoughts because you are a mentor and you have been a mentor, and you still are a mentor for many photographers. But on the, if you don't mind me going first, on the matter of them being paid, I think there are, and you might agree with this, I think there are two answers. I think if somebody's giving you proper ongoing support, they're helping shape your business, how you see the world physically as well as mentally, if they're reviewing your work regularly, which I know you do, Kev, if they're offering real feedback, and by that I mean offering feedback, not just criticism, because sometimes criticism, you know, Kev, when you think, right, I need to criticize something because you've paid me for it. No, not always. It doesn't necessarily work that way. They might be introducing you to new opportunities and all those sort of things. It's a bit like, I suppose it's a bit like going to a workshop, Kev. You wouldn't expect to attend a workshop without necessarily paying. And your mentor, you could think of them like a walking, talking, ongoing workshop. But that said, yes, I don't think every mentoring relationship is about money. And I think Dominique is referring here to Giles. You know Giles. Giles, my good friend. You saw him in London, didn't you? When you were doing...
Bumped into him in Leicester Square last week.
You did. I've known Giles for 2 decades, and he's photographed, as you know, Kev, in scenarios that most of us wouldn't dare tread. And so I've always taken what he says about photography, and in particular documentary photography, very, very seriously, and I've always listened. And I'm lucky to have another mentor who I interviewed on the Photo Walk some time back, who gives me this innate confidence about photography. He's been doing it for decades and decades, and decades. So those two relationships are not about money. So there's sort of two ways of going at mentoring here, isn't there, Kev? Don't you think?
Yeah, I think, you're quite right. I mean, it's a little bit of a kind of weird term, mentoring. So the mentoring that I typically have, that I offer via my website, like, long-term, short-term, all that, it's not, it's mentoring. I call it mentoring, but actually it's teaching, it's teaching, it's private tuition, if you like. But she's quite right in that, there's a thought that, a mentor, either a life mentor or a business mentor or whatever, can sometimes not necessarily be in it for financial gain. So, and that's true of some of the people that I, most of them, in fairness, did start with the kind of paid for mentoring, and then we just become friends and we chat and we do portfolio reviews, and and that's not a paid thing. That's just a kind of, I'm here to help you when you need me. But I mean, I see that long-term non-paid mentor type thing more as a friend, somebody who, like Giles, somebody who has a lot of advice, a lot of world experience, and you see regularly or infrequently, whatever, doesn't really matter, but it's always at the end of a WhatsApp, pick a phone up, going for a beer with him, whatever, that kind of thing. It's kind of friendship mentoring type, but there's two elements of it. I mean, if you if somebody was to just come out of the blue and say, can you as in you or I, me and you, Neil, tell us everything about your wedding photography business, you and I would rightly say, okay, but you're going to pay us.
I think that is a business transaction.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Whereas if, for example, if I said to you, I need help with my audio system.
I thought you were going to say my dog eggs then.
Oh, my dog eggs, yeah. No, I don't need help with those. I get the kids for that. But, something that something that you have knowledge of that I don't, and advice, then I'd reach out to you, and I'm sure that we'd just chat about it. And vice versa.
But then that's, you form friendships as you go through this business, don't you? And that I don't. Dominique's, she wants to contact somebody about it. So I guess the advice would be, Dominique, if you're reaching out to them and you don't know them very well and you want some business advice, I'd say that's likely to be transactional. And people that say it's not, I'm not sure they're being very genuine about that. Not everything in life is free, and I know that not everything has to be a transaction. But if you're hoping for experience from somebody who has walked the line, as it were, and learned the hard way, then I would expect to pay, whatever they're charging for that information if it so suits my budget.
And also you have to realise, or take into account, I should say, that if they're still active in whatever this subject is, then, they may not necessarily want to just train a competitor, if you like. I really have no idea what the subject is here. But if they are, at the end of that career, or they've moved on from that career, then they're more likely to be forthcoming with information. I liken it to kind of doctors, really. And, doctors have to keep teaching, educating the next set of doctors. Otherwise, the knowledge would disappear. And what you typically find, and I know a few kind of doctors in this situation, that as they kind of get longer in their career, they spend more time, not necessarily mentoring, or I'm not about them selling stuff, but they spend more time at conferences, passing on their knowledge and writing journals and articles, etc.
Yeah.
Rather than necessarily at the blunt end, if you like. So, there's an important element of that there as well.
I've thought of another word which I've just written down, Kev. Accountability. I think that's a really important thing about having a mentor. Accountability is a really strong guiding force, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
100%. And a reason for being mentored or taught. Either or. Right. Thank you, Dominique. Good question, that one. Facebook, Kev.
Jeff Petrie says, Kev, Neil, do you guys use touchscreen controls on your cameras? If no, why not? If so, how do you have them configured?
No. because it just drives me bonkers when my nose starts doing things with the screen.
It's really interesting because Jeff actually posted this as a standard question on the Facebook group as well. And that's exactly as I replied. I said, no, I think I actually said my big fat Welsh nose keeps doing things that I don't want it to.
The very first week of my travels a few weeks ago, I don't know how I turned it on. It's always off, Kev. For some reason, it had turned itself on overnight just to upset me, I think. And I couldn't figure out the next step. I was thinking, why is this, just this single point keeps moving? Why is it doing that? I took the battery out, I put new batteries in, I turned it off and walked away from it for about an hour. I came back, it was still doing it, and then somebody said, have you got touch screen thing on? I thought, oh, of course I have, yeah. It was my nose. My nose was there, haunting me, Kev, as I was shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the reason. No and nose.
Actually, interestingly, a lot of the comments on the post that Jeff put in the Facebook group were of the same opinion. No, very rarely. Some people used it, but very rarely. There was a valid point made by somebody, I can't remember who it was though, that they do use it for focusing when using video. And actually I do also when I'm doing any video that's not stuck on a tripod in front of my head. So if I'm moving around, I can use it to just move focus between subjects.
I did notice a friend of mine, a photojournalist, Jason Florio, now he has a Canon R5 and he had the screen out. And what he does with it looks a bit strange, this, Kev, but it works brilliantly for him. And in terms of the fact that he uses it as a photojournalist in some quite awkward situations, it's obviously quite a speedy way to do things. His left hand is supporting both the lens and the screen, and his thumb is around it, and he moves around his focus point as he is shooting. I've never seen anybody do it that way before, but once he sort of explained it and showed it in action, it sort of made sense.
And I also disabled the joystick as well. I don't have that moving around either. So if people are thinking, how do you disable the joystick on Fujifilm cameras? If you just hold the joystick in for 3 to 5 seconds, you'll get a little option comes up where you can lock it off, and actually you can make it do various other things as well. But that's what I typically do.
I need my joystick to be moving around freely. Right, this one is from Adam Belcher. Hello, Kev. Hi, Neil. I have for a while wished to add the XH2S to my kit, largely for its ergonomic grip, larger battery and AF performance over the X Pro 3. I've recently fallen down the rabbit hole of the so-called Fujifilm AF eye tracking issue. There's whole societies on that. Some people on the internet are advising that the camera just can't track faces even for photography. This performance advantage over the X Pro 3 was my reason to want to add it to my collection. Is there a real problem, or is it all a bit overblown and it shouldn't put me off buying the XH2S? Thanks for your amazing show. Thanks, Adam. I have to say, I'm being a bit cautious here, but it's a stack sensor, isn't it, Kev? Have I got you know what I'm like with facts and figures and stuff. So
I think so. I don't have one, but I think so. Yeah.
And it's obviously it's beefed up processor. So I thought it would be a beast in this department, and I have two, as you know. It is good, much better than anything else I've used in the range, but it is not perfect. But it's not the reason I bought the camera. It's never been the reason. It was for all the other reasons, like I like the ergonomic grip that he mentioned. I like the feel of the camera. I didn't buy it for the eye tracking. While I was on my travels again, I got to hold Sony, Canon, Nikon, Leica, the whole gamut. And if I needed eye tracking super duper duper focus, I'd be choosing a flavour of camera that starts with S and rhymes with Tony.
Yeah.
And I know it's not fashionable here to say that, but our friend Steve Vaughan right now is probably popping open the champagne for that, isn't he? Because I'm sure that's probably one of the reasons he chose the camera.
Yeah, it probably is that and 1 billion frames per second.
Yeah.
I don't use face detection, so I prefer to actually point the camera at the face myself and move the camera.
But it's more about the eye tracking. Face detection, not a problem. Eye tracking.
Yeah, well, again, I don't really... I mean, the only time I ever use that is on my GFX system if I'm doing studio stuff.
Yeah.
And it seems fine. But of course, those people aren't moving around very quickly. You know, at the end of the day, if the type of photography you need demands continuous eye detection and or 30, 40, 50 frames per second, then Sony is going to be better for you at the moment. And that's the fact of it. There's no need to kind of beat around that bush. Personally, I don't see anything, unless maybe sports or, something like that. I can't see any type of photography, certainly none of the photography that I've ever done, that...
Well, recessionals, Kev. Recessionals, processionals.
Why do you need eye detection for that?
Well, you don't... I'm just giving a real-world example of why you might want to use it.
But you don't. You shouldn't, in fact, because what if you want to just change the focus to the man or the woman?
And well, yes.
Or the vicar in the background looking up the aisle,
Well, that's why I don't use it for that. But that is a reason for it, Kev.
Exactly. Like I said, there's if you need continuous eye detection and you need much faster frames per second, then certainly Sony is the place I would be looking. I'm not going to pass any more comment on that in that regards. But all I will say is that I've never needed that. I personally have never needed it. But and I have to say that if the type of photography I was doing was that automated, I'd find it extremely boring. But that's just me. I got in a lot of trouble on the Facebook group for being an angry last week. So yes, so I'm being less angry.
You were a little bit angry.
I'm not talking about it. I'm not even going to mention the email that I got from somebody anonymously.
Oh, go on, you have to mention it now. No, sorry. No, come on.
No.
Well, you should do. Go on, mention it.
It was very, don't be rude.
Was it?
Yeah. Oh. Anyway, I'm over that. I'm big enough and ugly enough and hairy enough to...
You're certainly two of those.
Yeah. He probably sent it from his break at McDonald's.
See, you started again. Didn't you use McDonald's as an example?
And I put on and Gemma said, "Oh, you shouldn't have said that, really, because that's a career for a lot of people, and a very good career."
It is.
That's a fair point.
It is. Does Gemma still listen to the show? I didn't.
Gemma listens every week.
No, she does not.
Yeah, she does. She listened. What day is it today? Tuesday. So last night she was cooking dinner, and I could hear you and I, our dulcet tones in the kitchen. And I go in the living room and I watched Shetland.
What? Shetland?
Put the telly on. We'll watch Shetland very loud.
What's Shetland?
Shetland's great detective Anne Cleeve's novels, but on TV.
Oh, I thought it was a bit like that. You know that one, Death in Paradise or whatever it's called?
No. It is a detective, but it's not
Death in Paradise is like one of those shows. Like if you go into the house during the day and you turn the telly on to have a little cheeky Netflix view at lunchtime, then it's always Death in Paradise or the Antiques Roadshow or something, or that. Anyway, Shetland. I'll have to look that one up.
Shetland, right. Yeah, it's good.
Okay, your turn.
Matteo J. Chauvio.
Do you want to have another go at that?
No, I don't, because that was somebody else had a go at me for not being able to pronounce anything. So I'm just going to call this fella Matt. I'm sure he won't mind.
Good idea.
Matt says, "Hi, Kev. Don't worry about pronouncing my name. I love you." He didn't really, but he did spell your name wrong. Hi, Kev. I'm Neil.
Well, how did he spell my name?
Neal.
Oh, I'm used to it being spelled.
That's all right.
The ones that come through as Nelly are the ones that are the most funny.
I know. The ones that come through to me just usually say, "Hi."
Oh, he's a very angry man.
Hi, Kev. Hi, Neil. Fuji Room has recently revealed that a 23mm pancake lens is finally coming. Ooh. I was on the verge of buying an X100F, but this announcement has me questioning my purchase. What do you think would be the better system, X100F or XE3 plus 23mm pancake combo? Is the lens interchangeability of the XE3 reason enough to dismiss the X100F now that a more compact version of the lens is in the works? Help me make a choice, please. Thanks for your great podcast, Matt.
What's his Instagram, Kev?
MattFromjava. Oh, I wonder where Matt's from.
I don't know.
Again, for the slower people at the back of the class, at MattFromjava.
I was trying to spell it out. I still haven't done it, Kev.
Matt from Java.
I'm Matt from Java.
You won't be getting any green e-merits on class charts this week.
Thank God. Right. Well, XE range is your bag, this one. I will just say that the X100F was probably the camera I most regretted selling. Out of all the X100 models I've had, that was the one that I got rid of and then instantly thought, I've made a mistake. But that shouldn't colour your judgment on this XE decision with an interchangeable lens.
Yeah, I actually, you say that XE is my bag, but I don't have any XE cameras. I did have an XE2, which was sold. However, I obviously know the system. And yeah, I mean, I saw that post on Fuji Rumors as well. And, you know, you do have to take it with a little bit of a pinch of salt. I'm sure that if he's mentioned it on Fuji Rumors, then it's probably true. He seems to be pretty much in the knowledge of things. However, as and when is the question, isn't it? When will it be here? You know, will it be soon? Is it just in development? Is it a complete rumor? Whatever. But let's just assume that there's a 23mm pancake lens and it exists. Okay, let's just make that assumption. My question would then be, will you only ever use that 23mm lens if you have an XE3, or would you plan on buying other lenses? If the answer is no, then I would probably go for the X100F. Purely because it is a little bit more manageable when traveling. It's got the leaf shutter, you know, all of that kind of stuff that makes the X100 range, you know, optical viewfinder, all of that kind of stuff.
Did the F have the ND filter built in? It didn't, did it? Did it?
Yeah, they all had the MD filter, yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so it's got that as well. And, you know, so that would be my question. However, if you're tempted by other focal ranges, and maybe you aren't now, but maybe you might be in the future, then yeah, the XE3 would be probably a better choice. There's, you know, marginal size would be the difference with a new 23mm pancake, depending on how pancake it actually is, of course. The mock-ups I saw had an aperture ring on it, so it's not going to be truly pancake like some of the, you know, the really small kind of Viltrox lenses and stuff, but it certainly will be smaller than the 23mm that we have in existence at the moment. And my other question will be, and I'm not sure if this was answered on the Fuji Rumors post, is the aperture of the lens, whether it will be 2.8, 1.4, f4. If it's, you know, 2.8 or 1.4, then I can't see it being too pancakey, but it might be.
Well, it would have to be f2 to keep up with the F, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, but I mean, you know, this is a separate lens for a separate camera system, isn't it? So my guess is it would probably be 2.8. If it's f2, it's going to be even bigger. So, and then how do you call it, a pancake?
Do you remember that wonderful Canon lens, the 40mm pancake? That was 2.8, wasn't it?
Oh God, I don't know. I don't think I ever used that.
It was.
I only ever used 50, 35, 85, and 135 in my Canon days.
I'm sure it was a 40mm pancake lens that was 2.8. I'll have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure about that. That was amazingly small. Amazingly small. Wasn't the best lens in the world. Having said that, it's trade-off, isn't it, Kev? Really, with cost. But there we go.
Yep. Thank you, Matt from Java.
Do you want an Angie email or an even Angier email?
Oh, God.
Shall I go for the lesser Angie one?
Yeah.
Jeremy Baker. Hi, Neil. Hi, Kev. Kev, why are you so miserable these days? Love, Jeremy.
Yeah.
No, he didn't say that at all. Education. Oh, it's one of our favourite subjects, Kev. Is when you read the small print, and experience comes from when you don't. We're going to be Jeremyized now, aren't we? I think this isn't necessarily a contract-related question, but what have you learned from a shoot or shoots that don't go as planned or as expected? Whether it was the client wasn't happy, or the weather, or the kit, or anything else. Cheers, Jeremy. There we go. Do you think that's hidden in this fact that Jeremy's just received an email from somebody saying, I don't like those pictures?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
So it's not necessarily a contract related question. So it's more human level, this one, Kev. So well, if you, I'm sure you've never had a complaint. We've talked about this many times.
I've had a couple over the years.
I think look, it's natural that if you shoot as many weddings or do as many portraits, run as many courses or do this, that and the other, sooner or later somebody's not, it's just not going to live up to their expectation, is it?
Yeah.
At some stage. But I think if it's not a contract thing and it's a human thing, I think the first thing you can do, this is my favourite word, Kev, it's an E word. Are you ready for it? Empathy.
Yep.
I am a work in practice. I don't always show it, and I've made lots of mistakes with it over the last 4 years. I blame COVID, and also you know who.
Don't be rude.
But I do think that empathy is really, really important, and that you get it. Because if you show you get it, if you show that you understand that they're not necessarily the happiest bunnies in the world, but you show that you care, that you're human, don't disappear. That's the problem, isn't it? When people disappear, they send back an email and say, well, I thought it was this, or they blind you with a bit of science, a bit of corporate jargon sort of language. Oh, it's not my fault because that happened, because this happened. The ujima flip connected to the Y bone that didn't connect to the leg bone, and then they disappear. That if you show empathy over ego, every single time that'll work. As I say, I'm a work in practice, certainly not perfect.
Yeah, I think actually that's a really good answer, because you need to kind of read whatever they're coming back with and take it on board, and then put your part of the argument, if you like, together, but also understanding their point of view. For sure.
What if it is a contract thing though, Kev? Then it starts to get a bit more serious.
Well, yeah, it would do, I'm sure. Again, I've never been through that, so I don't really have any kind of experience to give advice on those kind of issues. But I would say, you see it quite a bit with wedding photographers, especially in their early days. They do something and then the client's not happy, and then they, the first thing they do is they go to a Facebook group or or whatever and say, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I'm so depressed. This has kept me awake all night worrying about this, blah, 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 blah. And then usually some bright spark like you says, well, why don't you just reply and just, try and clarify the facts? And then the next day they come back and say, oh yeah, I replied and it's all fine now.
Yeah. Pick up the phone and chat.
Yeah, exactly.
Remember that thing? Do your kids, by the way, I think there should be a course on how to speak into a phone at schools. It seems, I'm going to sound like a proper old fart now, Kev, but it seems to be something that's been forgotten. Like if you call Albs or something, does he pick up the phone and say, hi, Dad? Or do you get this sort of like silence as if they're not quite sure what to do with it?
Yeah, he does. It depends what he's hoping to get out of the phone call.
Yeah.
Hi, Dad. If I know the conversation is going to end up with, can you transfer some money to my account, or have you signed up for the Arsenal tickets, or but otherwise, no, you're quite right.
No, I was thinking more about
Rosa. Bless her, is wonderful. She's like, she should be the speaking clock. I think she's got such a lovely, happy, personality. But Albie's a 14-year-old boy, isn't he?
Oh, maybe it must be the boy thing. Because if I phone them, they've got absolutely no idea what to do with a phone. It's almost like a surprise that this thing's been ringing at them. There we go. Anyway, that's it for this one. Thank you for your some really good questions this week, Kev.
Yeah, very nice.
They are the sort of questions we need, definitely. Yes. Keep sending them in to click@fujicast.co.uk, click@fujicast.co.uk. Or, Kev, how do you go about it if you want to join in with Facebook and send a question?
Go to facebook.com, search for FujiCast, and you'll see the Facebook group. Join the group. If you're not in it, the post at the top says questions for the show 2025. Therein will be the questions for the show.
Brilliant. I like it to be known, by the way, since now that I didn't realise Gemma was still listening to every single show. Remember a long, long time ago, it might have even been a year back, you said to me that it drives her nuts when I say the Book of Face. So it did used to drive her nuts. Well, I stopped saying it. I haven't said it ever since. Ever since you said
therapy after that.
No, she did not. Ever since she said that, I stopped doing it. And even today, when you talked about the joystick, I was going to say the stick of joy, and then I just thought of Gemma saying the Book of Face.
I'm not going to talk about Gemma's stick of joy.
I wish I hadn't said that now. Right, well, we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Bye-bye, Kev.
Bye.
The FujiCast is an independent loading zone production. Email the show with your questions and words of wisdom to click@fujicast.co.uk. Email any complaints and political nonsense to our wives, who will deal with your comments in their own good time and in their own good way.